I am very blessed. I'm very grateful. I practice being grateful every single day. I look around at what I've accomplished, what I've done, the things I've experienced with my friends and family. And if I didn't have the time to do that, I wouldn't have seen any of those things. And I've been doing that for a long time. I'm pretty successful in that right now.
What if the path to comfort, peace, and financial freedom didn't require a college degree? Maybe just a shovel and a vision and some relentless work ethic. Well, today's guest is going to prove that that is possible. Welcome back to The Root of All Success. I'm your host, the real Jason Duncan. This is episode number 335. My guest today is Ken Rusk. He's the best-selling author of Blue Collar Cash. He's the founder of Rusk Industries, a 9-figure construction empire. And he's the host of the Comfort, Peace, and Freedom podcast. Ken started digging ditches at 15 years old. He turned blue collar grit into a blueprint for success that has inspired thousands of people. And he's from mentoring at Boys and Girls Clubs to sharing stages nationwide. His mission is very simple. Show people that you don't need a degree to design a life of freedom and fulfillment. So Ken, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jason. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Well, you started digging ditches, like I said, at age 15, and now you've built a 9-figure construction business and you don't have a college degree. So what's the biggest lie that we tell young people about success?
Well, first off, there's this expectation that you go through high school, you get good grades, and then, you're supposed to get a good score in your ACT, and then you're supposed to get a scholarship, and then you go to college and you learn something important, and then there's a job waiting for you that's going to pay you a pile of money at the end of that. And we know from the reality that just isn't the case. I mean, currently there's 177 million people considered full employment in the United States. Well, 77 million of those people still do something with their hands today. So 50% of our country is still doing something in a trade or a skill or some type of craft or whatever, and making a great living doing it. So I would say the biggest lie is you've got to go to college to be successful. That's just never been true. And also that you have to take on large sums of debt in order to learn some crazy thing with a master's degree in order to make that happen. Some of the most wealthy people I know, all my friends are all blue collar guys. And that just seems to be the way it is.
Most teenagers that are working blue collar jobs see those jobs as temporary. It's just something they do for a while. What made you realize this could be the foundation of something a lot bigger than that?
Well, I like to be in control of my future, financial future, the things I want to bring into my life, whether it's I manifest something or I go buy something or whatever it is. And so for me, I knew that if I was working for myself, I could control my input. I could control my output and the quality of that output. I could control my day, my time, my schedule, and most importantly, my financial gain. So why would I want to cede that to somebody else and kind of hope that I become successful at the pace of somebody else's, vision for me? I would rather control all those outcomes myself, because at the end of the day, me and only me knows what I want my life to look like. Nobody else does. So why am I allowing other people to try to format that for me?
I think today, in just about every podcast on the planet that's being recorded right now, there's some sort of mention of AI and its impact on society, its impact on the economy, impact on different industries. And while this was not necessarily a scripted question, I wasn't really thinking about this until we got into this, but the idea of AI and its effect on blue collar jobs seems to be minimal at most in terms of the actual physical work. Is that true, or am I misreading something?
No, what AI will do is it will enhance what you do. Like if you're a carpenter, okay, instead of yelling off the roof to your assistant down below, hey, I need a 30 by 42 piece of 1/2-inch plywood, the AI will help you have mapped that out already, and he'll have known what that measurement was going to be. So it will assist you in what you do. It won't replace what you do. I mean, no robot's ever going to walk up and plant a tree or curl your hair or, do the things that needs to do. So even the founder of NVIDIA himself said that the future millionaires in the country are going to be people who build data centers. Okay. Well, carpenters, plumbers, electricians, welders, pipe fitters, coders, those are going to be the future millionaires in our country, because the supply and demand of them is so low right now.
You've mentored hundreds of people on life design and on goal setting. When did you first realize that you had insights worth sharing beyond your own business?
Well, I run a ditch digging company, and I'm a proud ditch digger. I've been doing it since I was 15. And when you have a group of 225 people, you hear it all. I mean, you experience it all, Jason. I can tell you the stories, but the one thing that you figure out is you need to come up with a culture or a formula that people will want to work within your organization. And they you need to create an atmosphere where they're kind of working for themselves first and for you second. And I know that seems backwards, but it's really the case, especially with today's younger people in this instant gratification world that we live in. So I knew that if I could get a bunch of people who stood up, all day knee deep in sewer water and, concrete blocks and cement and dirt and dust and jackhammers, I knew if I could get those kinds of folks, which I love, to see what they could do for themselves in the future and design the life that they want for themselves. I knew I was onto something, and that's when someone, actually my wife, said, the stories you're telling here, I think you've got a book here.
So you've built Rusk Industries into a 9-figure company, and that, as I understand it, took decades to do that. But is there a moment where you almost walked away, and then also what kept you going and not walking away?
So there isn't a moment where I wanted to walk away, but there was a moment where I said, I have to stop killing myself. This thing about entrepreneurship where people say, well, in order for you to be an entrepreneur, you have to work 80 hours a week. You have to, solve every problem. You have to, fix everything, repair everything, motivate everybody. And then, on Friday, you go home and beat your chest like Superman. Look what I've done. You also have high blood pressure, diabetes, and you can't remember your kids' first names, but you made a few bucks, and that's cool. I don't believe any of that. The way to growth is to empower people close by you with an entrepreneurial spirit. These are people that don't necessarily want to go take that full risk of an entrepreneur on their own, but they still want to feel like they have some autonomy within your company. This is a much longer answer, but getting people to understand that they can get what they want with and through your company, meaning that, again, they work for themselves first and you second, that's the power to momentum. And that's what's been for us.
So I particularly disagree with and don't buy into the idea of work-life balance, because I think life and work are not separate things. Work is part of life, and I don't think you can balance one against the other. But you teach a lot about balance in general, life balance, which is what I would call it, is life balance. What do you think about that? Is there such a thing as work-life balance, and what do you think?
Well, we all get 90 spins on this planet if we're lucky, right? So you can't wait until you're 70 to say, okay, now I'm going to enjoy my life. I mean, that's crazy. That you have so much more energy and zest for life when you're 40, 50, 60, 70 years old. So for me, the very first thing I do when I go in on Monday is I say, okay, Ken first. I plan my workouts. I plan my meetings or my after work stuff with my friends, hanging out with my daughter or my wife. I plan all of the me things first, and then I put work in around that. Now I know that sounds altruistic, but it works if you just start doing it. It doesn't mean you have to leave work in the middle of the day to go work out. That's not the point. The point is you plan all those things first so that you've got you taken care of. Because if you're no good, the company's not going to. I mean, you're the visionary, you're the leader. You need to drive these things, and if you're not in a good way, your chances are your company isn't going to be either.
You've said that visualization and goal setting changed your life. Can you share a specific goal or something that you visualized early on that people thought was impossible?
Well, I don't know necessarily if it was impossible, but there were people who said, how can you compete against all these other jobs? I mean, you got landscapers and you got people out there that are, how do you get people to thrive within your company? It's got to be impossible to try to hire in that environment. And the point was, well, no, Because if I've got people understanding that they can create exactly the life that they want for themselves the way they see it and nobody else, then I'm going to have an advantage over those other companies where the culture sucks, the boss is a jerk. You know what I mean? They work them too hard and too long. They demand too much, pay too little. So I knew I could carve out a niche and compete against those other types of jobs in a world that is, again, not very attractive on a daily basis. But yeah, it seems to work out good.
Your book, Blue Collar Cash, became a Wall Street bestseller, a Wall Street Journal bestseller. What misconceptions about blue collar work did you most want to answer with that book or shatter with that book?
Well, again, it has to do with, okay, so if you start with just happiness, okay, 36% of people who are in white collar jobs are happy with their job, where it's over 55 to 60% of blue collar people are happy in their job. And why is that? Well, because they wake up every day and they know it's up to me to succeed. Every day it's on me. Now that's a responsibility. I get it. But they don't have other people who are determining their fate, their future. They don't have other people saying, this is what your life should look like. No, we as blue collar people, we get to take out a clean piece of drawing board and some colored pencils or whatever, and we get to draw exactly what we want our life to look like, chop those things up into a million little pieces, and then go after those pieces one at a time, seeing progress happening every single day. And I think that's the misconception is that, we work really hard and we don't get paid a lot. That's crazy. We actually enjoy our autonomy. We enjoy our freedom. We enjoy the spontaneity of what we do and the control that comes along with it.
Now you're writing a new book now, and you're going to be focusing on workplace culture. So what's one culture mistake you see businesses make that costs them their best people?
It's by far, I see it over and over. And whenever I'm consulting, it's the same thing. It is, they don't put enough faith in the people around them, and their ego won't let them let go. In other words, they think they have to do it all. They think that they know it all. They've brought the business this far, so they're going to guide it the rest of the way. And all of you just follow me blindly into the abyss. It's not that. You've got, I don't know how many people that you have in your company. I don't care whether it's 6 or 16. You've got 16 brains in that company, 16 sets of eyes. So empower those people, give them the ability to run their divisions autonomously. Share with them the newfound revenue that you're going to get from them having collective goals, corporate and personal, and then get the hell out of their way. That's the difference. And for me, that took our company from 7 figures to 9. I mean, it just did, because we now have a bunch of people around here that can make decisions for themselves, knowing that they have the company in mind, but they're running their divisions the way they see it, the way they can make them profitable. They can answer questions. They can decide things and not have me just standing over them all the time.
If you had to define culture simply so that everybody understands what you mean when you say that word, what would you say that definition is?
Is this a cool place to work? It's as simple as that. Now, you can take cool and break that down into, kind, caring, compassionate, charitable, all those things. But, if you say, my boss is a cool guy or gal, and we really have a cool place to work, there's so many things that would go into you saying that would be your best. That would be your best answer. And the book breaks that down. It's actually called Rock Stars and Rainmakers. If you build it, they will come. And it talks about just create a cool place to hang out, a cool place to work that still has aggressive goals, and you want people to win, but allow people to win for themselves. And when you get enough of those together, your company's going to explode.
All right, we're going to get back to Ken in just a moment. But first, if you're enjoying these conversations here on The Root of All Success, would you do me a favor and take 30 seconds to leave a 5-star review? It helps more entrepreneurs find this show. It keeps us growing. And whether you're listening on Apple or Spotify or YouTube or anywhere else, tap those stars. Let us know why you listen. Leave a comment. Now let's thank today's sponsor, and our sponsor for today's episode is Dubb. That's spelled D-U-B-B. If you're growing your business then I think one of the things you should consider is growing your business with personalized video outreach. That should be on your radar. And if that's what you're thinking about, you need to know about Dub. Dub is the ultimate video sales platform that I've personally been using since 2018. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that I use it nearly every single day. It makes it easy to record and send videos that stand out in crowded inboxes. It's got clickable calls to action so that the people who watch the videos can instantly book a call or reply or take the next step. You get real-time analytics that tell you exactly how your videos perform, helping you tailor your follow-ups and close more deals, close them faster. So whether you want to boost email engagement, if you want to ramp up your social media presence, or if you want to speed up your sales funnel, Dub has lots of tools to make it happen without the complicated software, the lengthy setups. And if you want to see how this game-changing platform can actually work for you, head over to therealjasonduncan.com/dub. Again, that's DUBB, therealjasonduncan.com/dub. And you can learn more about it. You can get started with Dub today. You get 50% off your first couple months plus a free trial. Go to therealjasonduncan.com/dub and take your business communication to the next level with video. All right, let's get back to the show. So Ken, you advocate for something that you call comfort, peace, and freedom. Comfort, peace, and freedom as life goals. So how do you respond to critics who say, hey man, that sounds too soft for the business world?
Well, once you start to define what comfort, peace, and freedom is, that is, see, I actually want that feedback, because what happens is when you ask somebody to design their perfect life, too often you get, well, I want a yacht, I want a McMansion, I want 15 cars, I want a hot wife or whatever, hot husband, I mean, whatever it is, right? And the reality is people don't actually think that way. There are people that say, if I could live like this, if I could have this kind of house in the country with my pickup truck, or if I could have this type of apartment in the city and I have an electric bike, or everyone has their own unique version of what comfort, peace, and freedom is. So all I'm trying to do is provoke the thought that don't just cookie cutter what you think a cool, successful life would be. Sit down and figure out what it would be for you. Sit down with your husband or your wife or your family and say, now, how do we want to live? What kind of vacations do we want to take? What kind of house do we want to live in? What kind of cars do we want to drive? What kind of charity work do we want to do? What hobbies or sports do we want to be involved in? What kind of pet do we want? A dog, a cat, what color, what would we name it? You have to really set these things in motion through the vision that you and your family share. So I think if I get that feedback, I'm okay with it, because it instantly gets people to understand that not everybody wants those kinds of things. And if you as a CEO think, well, I have a fancy race car, maybe everyone else should have that. No, that's not exactly true. But if you ask them, they'll come up with something that makes them feel comfortable, peaceful, and free. And that's their own version of it. And if you have enough people doing that at the same time, that's where real momentum begins.
You've worked with organizations like Make-A-Wish and Boys and Girls Clubs. How has mentoring shaped the way that you lead your own company?
Well, I have to tell you, so two opposite ends of the scale. So in some of the cases, in some of the Boys and Girls Clubs, it takes me 3-4 weeks of, 1 day a week meetings with these kids just to get them to look back at me and say, okay, so you really do care about me right now. You're not just this guy standing in front of me, because they've been so beat on in their life and so disconnected in their life that the trust factor is just, you got to earn it, man. I mean, you really got to earn it. So that's a cool thing. The other thing is with something like Make-A-Wish, unfortunately, those kids are fighting for their lives, and they are tough. They're tough as nails. I mean, they're going through chemo treatments and all the stuff that they have to do, and they're young people, and they shouldn't have to do that. They're supposed to be out playing out in their yard, and yet they got a bunch of tubes hooked up to them and laying in some hospital bed. So it's inspiring to see the fight. I mean, we're on like our 14th or 15th child in the last 20 years, and the whole company gets involved. It's really inspirational to see those stories.
So this show is called The Root of All Success. So I got to ask you some questions about that concept. So
Sure.
Ken, what is your one key that has unlocked success for you?
See it, plan it, and then go get it. I've been doing it since I was 12 years old. And it started with an aluminum baseball bat that I wanted for my baseball team. It was $40. How am I going to get this bat? My dad said, well, 2 hours, $2 an hour working in the yards for your neighbors. 20 hours later, you'll have the bat. It seemed too easy for me. It seemed too simple. Okay. Now, as the years go by, the things get bigger, the price tags get higher, the time frame gets longer, but that's okay. If you can't see what you want your life to look like, don't just wait for it to show up. I mean, you got to live life the way you want it, not the way you hope it just appears someday, right? So I don't necessarily care so much what you do for a living as much as I care what you do with what you do for a living and how that forms the future you want for yourself.
So how do you personally define the word success?
Freedom. That's time. I've got a bunch of cars. I do like cars. That is one of my faults. I love to play golf. I play golf all over the world with my friends. I do love to boat and that kind of thing. But none of those things are any good if you don't have the time to use them. And as you spin through 50 or 60 of these revolutions on the planet, you begin to learn that time is by far your most valuable asset, other than your family and that kind of thing. But to be spontaneous, to be able to say, I'm going to go do that right now, I think that's a measure of success for sure.
Based on that definition, do you consider yourself successful?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I'm always chasing something. I always have that next goal. I have half a dozen of them out there right now that I'm visualizing, or that I'm actually starting to work on. But I am very blessed. I'm very grateful. I practice being grateful every single day, and I look around at what I've accomplished, what I've done, the things I've experienced with my friends and family. And if I didn't have the time to do that, I wouldn't have seen any of those things. And I've been doing that for a long time. So yeah, I'm pretty successful in that, right?
All right. So put on your coaching hat, your mentor hat for just a second. So there's a lot of entrepreneurs listening to this show. What is your best piece of advice for entrepreneurs?
Sit down, ask your people what they want. I'll tell you a quick story. I had, our company plateaued at this mid seven figure number for a couple of years. We couldn't get out of it. So I brought a bunch of people in. This is 2 decades ago. I brought a bunch of people in, and I surrounded myself with these people. I said, take out I gave them a piece of paper and a pencil. I said, write down how many more in millions this company can do next year in your mind. And then before you write that number down, just know that if we hit that number, I'm going to share a portion of that with all of you. I mean, this is money, Jason, that I didn't have yet, right? I mean, it's newfound money. Wouldn't you know that all of their numbers were $2 million a year higher than mine was? Okay. Which just goes to show you, be careful that you think you know it all. Okay. Be careful that you're not your own glass ceiling or your own self-limiter, because that happened to me. I didn't even give a number down. I just put the thing back in my pocket. And, but the real success was empowering a group of people to take your company to the next level and then sharing some of that newfound money with you. It doesn't cost you a nickel that way. But the company exploded, and we've really never looked back.
All right. So as we close our conversation today, I have 3 rapid fire close questions for you today. Are you ready?
Yep, go.
All right. What's one trade skill every entrepreneur should learn, even if they never use it personally?
How to fix something around the house. I mean, anything. Just be handy around the house. Saves you so much money.
That is true. Second question, what's the most underrated blue collar job that's actually a gold mine?
Well, other than the one that we're in, God, that's a great question. Well, let me answer it a different way. So if you're thinking about a career in blue collar trade, if you go to like Lowe's or Home Depot or one of those places and you go to the commercial desk, where they are looking for, they deal with commercial people every day, all day long. Just ask them, hey, what's missing in this town? What is needed in this town? What is being underserved in this town? They will tell you the secret and the answer to what the most valuable trade is in wherever you live. It's one of the easiest things to do there is.
All right. And final one. If you could go back and give 15-year-old Ken one piece of advice before he picked up that shovel, what would you say?
I would say take advantage of the 6, 7 year periods that you get to double your money when you save it. Start when you're 21, because 42 years later is 6 of those 7 year segments, and watch your money grow without you doing a thing. Okay. It worked out for me pretty well anyway, but I would have started earlier for sure.
Good advice. All right. So, everybody, how do we get in touch with Ken Rusk? You can go to kenrusk.com. That's KenRusk.com, Ken Rusk. And then you can look up Ken Rusk Official on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. You can find Ken out there. Is there anything, Ken, you want to leave people with today?
You know, a lot of times when you read books, they become what they call shelf help. You read them and you put them on the shelf and you can't remember a thing about it. So with Blue Collar Cash, I built a really simple 7 or 8 session course. It takes you half an hour per session, and it goes along with the book. It kind of reads along with the book, and it will force you to change the habits and do the things that you and I have been talking about today, Jason. Like not someday, this afternoon. So I think the course is $179. You get a free book with it, and I end up donating that money to my charitable fund, which helps first responders and soldiers get this information for free. So just know, if you're helping yourself by taking the course, you're going to help someone else in the process. It's not a moneymaker for me. It's kind of a way to give back.
And how do we get access to that?
You go to kenrusk.com. You'll see the book. You'll see the course. You'll see, the speaking opportunities, whatever you're looking for there. And you can get it right there.
Well, Ken, thank you so much for being on the show. Congratulations on all your success, and congratulations on taking it and turning it for good for the world, for giving back. I appreciate that very much. So thank you for being here today.
Thanks, Jason. Happy to be here.
Well, there you have it. Another successful entrepreneur sharing his story and what he's doing and how he's making an impact in the world. And I think if you pay close attention to the guests I've had on the Root of All Success, with very few exceptions, one of the things you see is this ribbon that flows through everybody's story when they become wealthy and successful through business or whatever means they've created wealth, is they're giving back. They're doing something that's beyond themselves. So as you, entrepreneur, listening to the show, generate wealth, what are you doing to give back? It's really easy to get caught up in the minutia of business and the excitement of making a lot of money, but make sure you take that moment to step back, to look at who you can impact, make a difference in this world, because money is good, money is important, money is necessary, but money is also a key to make a huge transformation in people's lives. So don't miss that. And I appreciate Ken helping us see that through his own example and what he's doing. He can still have the nice cars and play golf all over the world, and you can also help people. You can do those things. So thank you for listening today. Thank you for following Ken. Go check him out. Go check out that course at kenrusk.com. Thanks for listening. Make sure you tune in again next week. I'm going to talk with yet another very successful person about his or her journey to success. Until then, as always, I'm your host, the real Jason Duncan, and Jesus is King.
Attention business owners. Attention business owners. Feeling burnout from running your business? Uncertain if you're nearing burnout? Take our free 10-question business burnout test at businessburnouttest.com to discover where you stand. With just 10 quick questions, you'll learn how to immediately begin making changes to regain freedom and success. Cut your daily operations time in half. Improve your quality of life and prepare your business for your future exit without losing revenue or profit. Visit businessburnouttest.com now and take the test. Thank you for listening to another edition of The Root of All Success with the real Jason Duncan. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, visit therootofallsuccess.com to access the show notes and other helpful resources. Follow Jason on social media at The Real Jason Duncan. See you again next time here on The Root of All Success.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.